We have been talking so much about marketing and visibility over the last 2 months. And today I just wanted to pop in with a solo episode all about how I create ideas for my content. Now, originally, this podcast episode was on my list as content ideation. And the truth is, after listening to the episodes from the visibility series, I'm going to take a slight pivot in how I discuss that with you guys. Because all of the guest experts that I've had for the visibility series have all agreed on like one thing. You need to pick a platform that makes you happy to show up on, and that should be like your main content platform. Whether that is LinkedIn or Instagram or YouTube or your own blog on your website, you need to create content for a platform that makes you happy so that it doesn't feel like one more added thing to the never ending list of to do tasks that you have in your business. And can I tell you a secret? For me, that platform is this podcast. And I go back and forth because I know that I should have solo episodes where I am highlighting my expertise, but I also really just love having conversations with people and being surprised at what comes out of the conversation, which is the first thing that I want to address today. I mean, many of you probably think that I've really got my shit together and that I have planned these series, well in advance, and I've invited these guests and like everything just comes together. And the truth is, that's not at all what happens with these series. So, let me first talk about how I invite guests onto the podcast. You guys know a number of the guests that you guys have heard on previous episodes are close personal friends of mine or fellow business owners that I have met in some kind of networking capacity. But like, I don't really accept applications to my podcast. I really want to know someone personally and know that they have something that is super valuable for you as my audience so that I am never wasting your time by listening to an episode of this podcast. And so usually I know what it is that I want to talk to a guest about. But more than once, I have invited a guest onto the podcast and thought that we were really going to dive into what I would call their expertise. And then we ended up talking about like a completely different topic that was even more amazing than what we were going to talk about initially. So, a really good example of this is episode 6. I know you guys have heard me talk about my really good friend, Anami Tonkin, the host of the This Can't Be That Hard podcast. And she has now been on this podcast twice. She was on in July of 2022 as well as July of 2023. And the truth is, when I initially invited her onto the podcast, I wanted to talk about like her expertise in pricing and creating a sustainable and profitable photography business. But if you've listened to the episode, which was titled Expanding into Education, you know that we really didn't talk about that at all. We talked about like her decision to move from just photography sessions into being an educator, what it looked like to create her first course and then her second course, and like just in general, what it means to create an educational arm of your business. And I thought that that was like an absolutely fascinating conversation and topic, but that's definitely not what I had initially planned on talking to her about when I invited her on the podcast. So I think one of the things that I do really well on this podcast is that I go with the flow. If something like another idea comes to mind, or if we're having a conversation live on the podcast and they say something really interesting, I do not stick to what was planned. Like I will move where the conversation takes us. And another really good example of that, episode 12, Ashley Pendergraft, who is my Airtable coach. Now, I love everything Airtable. I know you guys are tired of hearing me talk about Airtable if you follow me on Instagram, but it is one of my favorite pieces of software. And so initially, I thought I would talk to Ashley about all the amazing things that Airtable can do for your business. But what we really started talking about in that episode, and we just never really got to the Airtable part, was making decisions to pivot in your business and how she stopped selling her most profitable offer for a solid 2 months while she basically got her shit together. I mean, that is one of my favorite episodes because I will say, like right now, as I am pivoting from my Dubsado VIP days as my main offer, I am moving into bite-sized wins. I am doing this through creating new templates and trainings for the DIY system shop, which is now open, guys. If you want to check those out, the website is linked in the show notes. But everything that I am doing now is towards getting you guys quicker wins. And since I would say last April or May, I have not really been marketing my Dubsado VIP days because I didn't know what they would look like during the school year. And so I really took my cues from Ashley and I was like, well, damn it, if she can pause her business for 2 months and not sell anything while she got everything together, so can I. So not only do I hope that I am sharing guests and expertise with you guys so that you can walk away and take action, you best believe I do the same thing for myself. So let's talk about these series because I've done quite a few of them now. I did one on like photographers and how they grow back in June. And then in July, we had the simple SEO series. In August, we had a series that focused on branding and marketing. And then this month, we had the visibility series. And I just want to tell you guys up front, like, I don't think about these series way in advance. For example, for the visibility series, I actually interviewed Tanya very last minute. What happened was I interviewed Drea Jones and I interviewed Deanna Seymour. And after I did those two, I was like, the two of them together really talked a lot about visibility and choosing marketing platforms and picking a strategy that really works for you. I was like, I should find other guests that are talking about more than Instagram. So then I reached out to Tanya so that she could record an episode on LinkedIn. I also asked Kate, one of my students, to be on the podcast to talk about blogging. So it usually starts with like one or two guests that I have already invited to be on the podcast. I interview them. I figure out like how it ties together and basically what topics I could find an expert to talk on that would kind of tie the whole thing together. And so I'm really excited about October. In October, we are actually going to be doing a self-care series. And I want to say something about this because one of the problems with interviewing people and kind of trying to form these series after is I end up interviewing some people that their interview was really good and I love the topic, but it doesn't quite fit with anything that I have in the queue yet. So I have actually been sitting on 3 different interviews that I recorded in Q2, and they are just now going to air on the podcast in October. I am really glad that I can get these out into the world because a part of me feels really guilty about recording with someone and then having them wait like 4 months until their podcast episode goes live. But I do this in the hopes that when I, sequence the order of some of these podcasts and the little nuggets and the actionable steps that people give you inside of these episodes, that it really does help you push your business forward. And so with that, I would love to hear from you. If there is a topic that you have wanted to hear me cover on the podcast, whether it is you want me to, you have an idea for a series or you just have an idea for someone that you love, their expertise, I would love to hear from you. Hop over to Instagram and send me a little DM and let me know what it is that I can cover on this podcast to help you move forward. So, if you have not listened to the episodes this month that were all about visibility, I really do encourage you to go back and listen to them because there were nuggets in every single one. All right, guys, that's it for this episode.